Schwerin is Germany's smallest state capital. So naturally, it has this. A palace built for a Grand Duke, designed by a Democrat who would later become a socialist, and today occupied by a parliament. Schwerin may look like a fairy tale, but its politics are way more interesting. Welcome to Schwerin, capital of the northeastern state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern and Germany's smallest state capital. There's still plenty to show. Let's take a walk. I'm on YouTube. A weird fountain right outside the main station, for example. First of all, there is plenty of water. Landscaped water. And generally, this city, well, town, appears much too grand for its actual size. Schwerin has a population of about 98,000 people, which officially makes it a Mittelstadt or medium town, which in German bureaucracy speak describes a town that has more than 20,000 but less than 100,000 inhabitants. It's even only the second largest town in the state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, with Rostock at the Baltic coast being twice the size, taking the cake. We'll get there eventually too in a future video. But unlike Rostock, Schwerin has historically been the seat of dukes, grand dukes even, and grand dukes like grand things. And it shows. The buildings around this lake, called Pfaffenteich, alone are already pretty impressive. Even the power station looks grand. Okay, it's not in use as a power station anymore these days. It's used for artistic and educational purposes. By the way, I gotta admit, even though Schwerin is just 90 minutes away on a regional train from my hometown, or even just 40 minutes if you take the high-speed train, I haven't been here in over 30 years. During the Cold War, Schwerin was part of the GDR, the German Democratic Republic, or East Germany, or the communist-ruled part of Germany under Soviet influence. So a couple of months after the fall of the Berlin Wall in November '89, and still before reunification, which happened in October '90, a couple of friends and I went here to check out the town. But sadly, we only spent a couple of hours here, and I only remember little bits and pieces from that, like the castle, and we will get to that. I do remember that we went to a restaurant to have lunch, and the waiter being kind of overwhelmed by my friend's request for a vegetarian option. The guy who largely shaped Schwerin into what it is today used to live in this house. His name was Georg Adolph Demmler. He was a very well-known architect in the first half of the 1800s. Pretty interesting guy. More on him later. Also, yes, Adolf was a perfectly normal male name until it hit a steep decline in popularity in the mid-1900s. State election coming up next month. They are restoring the former imperial post office and will have major state authorities move in afterwards. Speaking of restoring, they've done a lot of restoration work here in the old town in the 90s and noughties. Found it. Kumquat lemon with mango bubbles. Approved. That literally means first narrow street. And it's an accurate description. It's It's nice to see how many old buildings from the 16 and 1700s have survived. And the tourist train seems to be back at work. I've read that it was out of service for repairs. And right outside the town hall is the market square, which is surrounded by nothing but grand old architecture. It's impressive. That building behind me is now the seat of the state governor. Minister-President is the title, Manuela Schwesig from the Social Democratic Party. Before reunification, it was the seat of the district's socialist government. Before that, the seat of the district's Nazi government. Before that, the seat of the democratic government of the Weimar Republic, and originally, the Grand Duke's government seat. Buildings outlive their owners by a ridiculous margin, but power often stays where it was once established. All right, now we're getting to Schwerin's major landmark, the castle. Last time I was here, they were in the middle of repainting it. One half had a fresh coat of paint, the other half was just grey. Sadly, I can't go inside today unless I want to follow the debate, because this is now the seat of the state parliament. Originally, it was the seat of the Grand Duke. After World War I, it was turned into a museum. And for much of the GDR period, it housed a kindergarten teacher college. Yes. All right, I wanted to tell you about this fellow, Georg Demmler. He was a renowned architect from Berlin who had moved here to Schwerin and quickly rose through the ranks here. He became first state master builder and then in quick succession court master builder, working for the Grand Duke of Schwerin, charged with rebuilding the castle and also several representative buildings around the city. At the same time, he started out as a more or less classic liberal Democrat, and over time his opinions became more and more social Democrat. Not just his opinions, also his actions. He established accident and sickness support for the castle workers. He also advocated for fairer wages and was involved in Mecklenburg's democratic reform movement of 1848. Now, when that movement failed and the old feudal order was restored, he was heavily opposed to that. And that actually eventually led him to be fired from his job in 1851. Now, apparently, he still remained on friendly terms with the Grand Duke after his firing, even though he thought the Grand Duke shouldn't even be a Grand Duke. As I said, pretty interesting fellow. Today, though, elected representatives meet inside his greatest work, which is, at least for now, a nice end to his story. All right, that's my day trip to Schwerin, the first in 36 years. I enjoyed it a lot. I hope you did, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. See you around for the next video. Another pretty massive church, wow. Anyway, I'll find some shelter from the rain in the station. Take care. Also, it turns out this fountain depicts Rettung aus Seenot, Rescue at Sea, built in 1911 and restored in 1999. And if you didn't know, now you know.